All right, welcome back to your daily read aloud because of Mr. Terupt. It is our last day reading. We're going to finish our book today. So, in review, I know we've got some students in class that have missed a bunch of the book. So, basically what's been going on, Mr. Terupt had his students go down to the collaborative classroom. That's where they've been working with kids with special needs. It changed the class in a really good way. Can anyone explain how did it change the kids in the class? Josiah?
So, it made them a lot more kind, and they all stopped being mean to each other.
Yeah.
And I know I wasn't here during part, but then they went outside or something, and then it was snowy, and then all the kids were ganging up on Peter and pushing him into the snow and stuff. And then he threw a snowball, and it hit Mr. Terupt in the head, and he got a coma.
Yes, so Mr. Terupt got hit in the head with a snowball. Peter was not trying to hit his teacher, but he did throw the snowball, which was against the rules. So it hit Mr. Terupt. He was in a coma. He had brain surgery. All the while, the class is really sad, right? They all are kind of blaming themselves for different things. All right, now how did the surgery go? That's where we ended. Hudson?
The surgery went well, where the doctor came in and said that Mr. Terupt made it through the brain surgery.
Yep, he's made it through, and now they have to just kind of wait and see, right? That's kind of where we left it. Emma?
He's still in the coma.
Yeah, so he had a surgery. He's still in his coma, and the doctor said it went really well, but we just have to wait and see. Eric?
And also how he got the coma is because it was an ice ball instead of a snowball, and he did wrestling in high school. That's how he.
Yes, his wrestling in high school caused him to have a lot of concussions, which kind of weakens your brain. So because of all of that, the snowball caused a fracture, and then it caused bleeding in his brain. So we are hopeful in this last chapter we'll get some good news. All right, so we are into June, and we start with Jessica. Final act, scene 1. Welcome to the last day of school, where there is music and movies and games, singing and laughing and smiles all around, cakes and cookies and fun for everyone. At least, this is what the last day of school is supposed to encompass. Ours didn't. Crying wasn't anything I'd ever experienced on any last day of school, but crying was what I felt like doing, and I know I wasn't the only one. We had held tremendous hope for our teacher to be with us by the end of the school year, but he wasn't. I kept wondering about the Mr. Terupt I didn't know. I've thought a lot about it since the day in the waiting room. Everyone likes Mr. Terupt, but nobody is that close to him, except for Ms. Newberry. But even she hopes to be closer. Part of me thinks that it's not just him they're all concerned about, but us too, because they know we are the ones who are really close to him. But how can I even say that, or think that, when I don't truly know him? Maybe it's because it doesn't matter how well we know him. We love him. I haven't talked to anyone else about this, not even my mom. I want to, but that's the point. He's not here. Mr. Terupt didn't make it. Alexia. I went to see Teach last week, and the nurses said they were doing something and that I had to come back. I was mad, but I didn't really think anything was up. Now I'm beginning to wonder if maybe something's going on. Mrs. Williams and Ms. Newberry are definitely acting strange. Mrs. Williams is way too perky, humming to herself and talking with silent nods to Ms. Newberry, who's been poking her head into our room one too many times today. I'm beginning to wonder if Teach woke up and they've been keeping it a secret so that they can surprise us. I'm telling you, something's up. Danielle. Dear God, I don't want to be mad at you, but I am. You haven't listened to my prayers. If you had, Mr. Terupt would be here. We need him. Why didn't you give him back to us? Anna. Mrs. Williams makes me mad. Our whole class is feeling terrible, except for her. So remember, the principal's their substitute now. She seems happy, walking around with that bounce in her step. I even heard her humming at one point, but she quickly stopped when she realized I had noticed. Is she really that happy to get this year over with? Then the thought hit me. Does she know something that we don't? Luke. No, Mr. Terupt. Suddenly things changed drastically for me. I'd kept believing that he was badly hurt and would recover, but now that the year is over, the thought of him not making it seems very real. I'm scared. Jeffrey. I don't know what's going on with Mrs. Williams, but I want to punch her. This is the worst day of the year, and I see her wink at Anna. What's the matter with you? I want to scream at her. I don't care if she's the principal. In case you didn't notice, Terupt's gonna die. I wanted to yell that at her, too. But I kept all my anger inside. Don't you dare wink at me, lady. Jessica. Final act, scene 2. All day long I fought back tears. Shh. And now tears streamed down my face. I couldn't believe it. Mr. Terupt made it. He was here. He was okay. We rushed out to our seats, our bodies pressed together in a giant class hug. I missed you, he said. We missed you too, we shouted. I love you guys, he said, bending down to our level. He looked at each one of us and hugged us one by one. He hugged me. I love you, Mr. Terupt, I said. The words danced out of my mouth. I love you too, Jessica. We hugged some more, and then Mr. Terupt spotted Peter. Peter hadn't been part of the hug. Why do you think Peter's not part of the hug? I think he'd be relieved. Zoe?
Because he thinks that it's his fault.
Okay, so if you thought it was your fault, why wouldn't you want to run over and give him a hug? Emma?
Because you still feel guilty.
Yeah. I wonder if maybe he even wonders if Mr. Terupt blames him. Because we don't know that. Hudson?
Yeah, he probably, if Mr. Terupt wouldn't hug him, Peter wouldn't be like, I know he wouldn't hug me because he probably hates me now because I threw the snowball.
Okay, so maybe he's worried that Mr. Terupt is going to blame him for it. Peter hadn't been part of the hug. He was still sitting in his seat, probably too scared to move, too frightened to think what Mr. Terupt might do or say to him. Mr. Terupt stood up and walked over to Peter. We watched, and he taught us like he did every day we were with him. He showed us how to forgive. Luke. Mrs. Williams spoke up. Boys and girls, I do have one announcement before I leave you with your teacher. She smiled. The school board has decided that next year will be an experimental year. We're going to try looping in one classroom. What's that? Anna asked. Looping is when a class and the teacher move on to the next grade together, Mrs. Williams said. It got quiet fast. Real quiet. Hold your breath quiet. Was everybody wondering the same thing? I looked around. Jessica smiled and nodded at me. Boys and girls, next year your class will be looping, Mrs. Williams said. With Mr. Terupt? Anna asked. Yes, Mr. Terupt answered. We jumped and screamed and hooted and hollered. I saw Mrs. Williams heading toward the door. I ran over to her. Mrs. Williams, I said as she was about to leave. She turned around. Yes, Luke? Thank you, I said. Then I felt sudden quietness behind me. The rest of my class stopped and took notice of Mrs. Williams. Thank you, Mrs. Williams, voices called. She looked at Mr. Terupt. I was close enough to hear her say, There's magic in this room you have here, Mr. Terupt. Magic. She hugged him and left. Alexia. Teach made it. He showed up on the last day with no warning. It was the biggest surprise ever. Everyone ran over and hugged him. Then Teach went over and hugged Peter. I liked Teach so much when he did that. It made me think of the day he took me out in the hall. Teach knew how to be nice. He didn't say one thing and do another. Not Teach. After things calmed down, I went up to him. I've been being real nice now, Teach, I said. You'd be proud. You've always been nice, Lex, he said. You've just figured out how to show it. But you're right. I'm very proud of you. I can't wait till next year, I said. I can't wait either. I missed you. Then I hugged Teach again. I love you, Teach, I said. I love you too. So now it's wait till next year, and I can't. Jeffrey. Sometimes school can actually be great, and next year's gonna be just that, 'cause Terupt's back. I didn't think he was gonna make it. I thought he was gonna die like Michael did. I tried to help Michael and it didn't work. I don't know if I helped Terupt at all, but he made it. I ran and got help when he fell down in the snow. I ran inside and got the nurses and made them call 911 and got Mrs. Williams. I did that. Was that enough? I watched Terupt hug Peter. He didn't blame anyone. Jessica told me that it wasn't my fault that Michael had died. Maybe you just do the best you can because you can't control what happens in the end. I guess it's okay to hope for things. Sometimes it works out. Slowly, I'm getting my mom and dad back. All right, what did we learn last time about his mom? Hayden?
His mom finally got off her, depression.
Yeah, she got dressed and she greeted him in the doorway, right? Which before she just stayed in her PJs in bed all day. So we can tell that Michael's mom is getting better. Jeffrey's. Well, Michael's mom too, he's just passed. There isn't silence between us anymore, though they still don't talk to each other very much. Mom is out of her pajamas, but never out of the house. But that's okay for now. She's starting to try to get better, like me and Dad. I hope things get better between them. I miss my brother, but I'm real glad we got Terupt back. And I think I've found some reason for all of this. I never would have been the one to break the silence between me and Mom and me and Dad if it weren't for Terupt's accident. I wanted so bad to tell him how much I loved him, and I didn't know if I was going to get the chance when he was in that coma. And that was when I knew I didn't want to miss the chance with my parents. So I broke the silence. I'm glad too. I'm happy. Is he feeling a little different than at the beginning of our story? Yeah. Anna. The last day turned out to be a great day. Mr. Terupt made it. I've never felt so happy. My throat, my heart, my belly, they all burned with happiness and probably relief too. And then we found out about this looping thing, and I felt the good hurt inside all over again. Bus 9 is now loading. The call came over the speakers. See you soon, Mr. Terupt, I said. I ran over and gave him another quick hug. Have a good summer. You too, Anna, he said. And Mr. Terupt, I looked up at him and he looked down at me. I think Ms. Newberry might have the hots for you in case you're interested. I smiled. He smiled back. Matchmaker Anna, thanks for the tip. Bus 9, last call for Bus 9, the loudspeaker announced. I hurried out of room 202 with my head held high. I never made it to Bus 9, though. I got downstairs to the lobby and ran into Mom and Charlie. Hey, kiddo, Charlie said. Hi, guys, I said. Are you here to pick up Danielle, too? She's still upstairs. I barely got those words out of my mouth before I saw the answer to my question. Danielle's mother walked into the lobby. She spotted us right away. Hi, Mrs. Roberts, I said, finding no small amount of courage. Would you like me to go upstairs and get Danielle for you? Not needed. Danielle came through the stairwell door and entered the lobby. She took a second to look at everyone. Then she and I exchanged a knowing glance, bracing ourselves for whatever came next. There would be no disappointments on this day. It was a day of happiness and celebration. Hi, Mrs. Roberts, Mom said, offering her hand to shake. I'm Terry Adams, and this is my daughter, Anna. We didn't meet properly at the hospital. We'd love to have you and Danielle come over this afternoon, maybe for a cup of coffee or tea and some hangout time for the girls. The ball lay in Mrs. Roberts' court now. So this is Danielle's mom. We know how it's been this whole time. I let my breath out when I saw her shake my mom's hand. Please, call me Susan, she said. Danielle and I would be happy to come over. She glanced at Danielle, who nodded excitedly, but without hiding the shock on her face. Then Mrs. Roberts looked at Charlie. Mr. Terupt came into the lobby at some point during all this and gave Danielle and me a thumbs-up sign. It was as if he knew the whole story. Did he? We waved goodbye to the best teacher in the whole wide world, Danielle. It started with an old friend, Alexia, who wasn't really a friend. In came this new girl, Jessica, whom I liked but was told not to like. Somewhere in between, I became friends with Anna. We worked with the collaborative classroom and had this huge Ramadan project. And that old friend, who I had figured out wasn't a friend at all, was kind of on her own. I had Jessica and Anna. But then the accident happened. While Jeffrey ran for help, I held Mr. Terupt's head, putting my hat and coat under it so that he wasn't lying on the cold snow. I went to visit Mr. Terupt in the hospital with Jessica and Anna, and found an old friend there. Alexia was Lexi again, except new and improved. James left, but he made us see Peter again, and then we played the wait-and-see game until today. Today, Mr. Terupt came back, and then we found out that we're looping, and we'll get to be with him again next year. I can't wait to tell Grandma the news. She's the one who helped me when things got tough, and she said a lot of prayers for us. I don't think I'll tell Grandma about the end-of-the-day news, though. I'll leave that up to Mom. I just wished Anna a great summer and watched her head out of the classroom to catch her bus when Mr. Terupt said, "Danielle, I see your mother walking across the parking lot." He was looking out our windows. She must be here to pick you up. Okay, thanks, I said. I grabbed my stuff. Have a great summer. I can't wait for the fall. Bye, Danielle, he said. I ran over and hugged him once more. I'm so glad you're back, I told him. I let go, looked in his face, then hurried downstairs. I got down to the lobby and saw everyone. Mom, Charlie, Anna, and Terry. Was Charlie with Mom or Terry? Oh boy, I thought. But things worked out. Mom shook Terry's hand and accepted her invitation for coffee. Mom looked at Charlie after, but didn't say anything or make any sort of face. She was going to try really hard for us. As we were leaving, Mr. Terupt gave us a thumbs-up sign. How long had he been watching? How much did he know? Dear God, it's Danielle down here, full of love. Thanks for giving me my teacher back, and again for next year. Shh. And thanks for helping my mom give Terry and Anna a chance. Maybe now you can start to work on Grandma. She's going to be a lot tougher to persuade. Amen. P.S. I'm sorry I got mad at you. Peter. Out of nowhere, I heard the screams. Mr. Terupt! Everyone around me jumped up and ran toward the door. I couldn't believe it. Mr. T was back. I started crying. Mr. T was alive, and he was here. I stayed in my seat, trying to look small, but he spotted me. The room grew quiet as Mr. T walked toward me. I was scared again. Mr. T got down on his knees and looked directly into my eyes. Then came the best hug I've ever felt. Mr. T wrapped his arms around me and gave me a huge squeeze. I squeezed him back as tight as I could. My body shook and I sniffed my snotty nose. It's okay, Peter, he whispered in my ear. I forgive you. Suddenly I felt lighter, a lot lighter. Jessica. Final act, final scene. I've realized something. It's not California I long for anymore, or even Dad. It's 6th grade and another year with Mr. Terupt. I want to ask him about his family and tell him to let Ms. Newberry get close because she truly cares about him. But now isn't the time. There will be lots of opportunity for that when school starts up again. I need to enjoy this curtain call. I've read a lot of books, but I think ours is a great story, and I know Mr. Terupt would agree. It is a happy ending. And Luke is our final character we hear from. So here we go, Luke, last page. I remember thinking, 6th grade. We're going to be in 6th grade. And Mr. Terupt is going to be my teacher, our teacher. I thought of Mrs. Williams' word, magic. I looked at Mr. Terupt sitting with some of my classmates, and I thought, she's right, there will be magic. He's my teacher, the dollar word man. Terupt, dollar word. That's the end. See you guys later.